We're going to revisit some of the interviews I've done with Stephen Banoon, and a lot of them were compromised. And we broke it up into segments, and then I spliced it together. I was able to do some video recapitulation, and we think we have saleable material. He predicted that we would pay Iran before this ever happened. People thought that was impossible. And then he went on to make some other predictions. We're going to share that with you right here on the Common Sense Show. Hey, we are brought to you by anything that can do better than this, show it to me. Every medicine cabinet needs to have this. This is the Nanosoma liquid spray, boosts your immune system to unbelievable levels, cures nothing, but produces immune system results that for me were miraculous and for a lot of people. Right here, easy to get to, easy to find, easy to use. Go to iwantmyhealthback.com/Dave Hodges. iwantmyhealthback.com/Dave Hodges. Well, let me play for you this recording here because this is telling. Hey, Steve's an amazing guy. So I was on a really prominent show, Caravan to Midnight, recently, and I didn't get a chance to listen. I'm going to try to catch up on the archives because I bet that was a blockbuster with my good friend John B. Wells. Okay, here we go. Here's what Steve had to say about this conflict and trying to resolve it.
And Moscow and too much of a um, easy target for the NATO allies. But I've always heard too that this was all going to happen, and that this is what would break all the backbone of the current global system, so that they could switch to a new global system. I used to think that BRICS would probably be that new global system.
No, it's digital. And I thought it was bricks at one time too. Now the smart person does their own bricks.
But I really don't know the answer to that. I do agree with you. They would like to go to a digital currency. In fact, when they tried to pay Iran this 3 billion, by the way, that's not part of the 30 billion that they
Explain that
owe
because
Iran.
I don't think the audience knows what you're talking about there. What do you mean by the 3 billion?
Okay, the Trump authorized $3 billion to be sent to Iran. It was paid out by Bahrain. They put it on a jet, sent it over there. They wanted them to take it in crypto. The Iranians refused. They wanted gold and cash, is what they wanted. And this was actually what the Iranians call hush money, mainly because.
Okay, we'll get to this because in a second. I'm going to be doing a report here on something that you're just not going to believe. World Liberty Financial. It's my belief that the Trump inner circle, including family members and Stephen Wyckoff and his family, if Iran would have taken this payment in crypto, these people would have made millions of dollars. Talk about a conflict of interest. So you hold on to that thought. We're going to come back to that in the next segment, and you're going to you're not going to believe what you're going to learn there. Steve opened up a can of worms here, and at that time, I don't think he knew, and I knew this would bring in members of the Trump family as well as Wyckoff. This is amazing. Anyway, back to what Steve's saying.
They were given by the Chinese the unredacted version of the Epstein files, along with some other very incriminating evidence on the United States. I don't know what the other evidence is. I do know the Chinese were very deep in bed with the drug cartels and found out who all the politicians were by paying the drug cartels for the information and the money laundering that was going.
Okay, I got to stop and refer again. You're going to hear the relationship between the people I just mentioned and the cartels in a three-part scenario. Like I said, Steve did not know this at the time, I'm sure. I'm going to follow up with him tomorrow. I'm on the road making a short trip, and I'm going to call Steve, and hopefully we can talk this out. I don't think he knows. I just found out about this last night on into today. This is a can of worms, people, and he's laying the base foundation for where I'm going next.
On back in the 80s and 90s. Um, Is that what they have? I don't really know. No one has ever really told me about that, but they did send, and this was what's really interesting, Dave. I was told about this, and I actually mentioned it on air, but I was told not to use the word Epstein files at the time. Just say that the Iranians have some documents that are very incriminating, not just for the United States or for the president or former presidents, but also for many other world leaders and business leaders. I did say you can also say, though, that what's interesting that's missing in these files is that there are no Israelis in the files. That was interesting. They said that's more important than the people that are in them. But anyway, they said you can say that. So I did. And he said, now let's see whether, he said, because the Iranians are demanding that the United States pay them to keep this quiet. And then the next thing we know, here it is, comes 2 days later, and Trump's agreeing, or 3 days later after I produced the video, Trump's agreeing to send them $3 billion. And they say that's nothing to do with the 30 billion. And when they actually agreed to do that, that's when I got the message again from the friend of mine there from Iran, and he says, "I told you." And he said, "What I told you." He said, "If Iran truly has what they told him that they say they have, and they sent it through the intelligence department in the United States to someone there, some of the incriminating evidence." He said, "If it's really true, you'll see Trump will back down, and Trump will pay them the hush money that they're asking for." He didn't know how much they were even asking for. He said, but I'm assuming about $1 billion is what he's asking for. Ended up getting 3 billion. And so he says, I told you. Now we're actually seeing it all unfold. But now I can say it was the Epstein files is what they have there, and it is an unredacted version. I don't know how the Chinese got it, but the Chinese are the ones that have it. The Iranians did not hack the documents.
I can tell how the
Uh,
Chinese got it. I know exactly how they got it. They
how
got
did
it
they
from
get it?
Israel. And here's why I
There
say
you
that.
go, right?
Okay, what did Israel do with the Pollard list of agents CIA had in Russia? They sold it. Those, people were killed because of this. Pollard should have been executed for treason. Um, and so to me, it's a short step to believe that they gave this stuff to China to leverage when they wanted to. I want to back up because I'm going to go back into this, but how do you let me say this. When Trump came in his first term, he was not a globalist per se. He killed the Trans-Pacific Partnership, masquerading as a free trade agreement, but in that they had a 22 businessman panel that could override everything that the U.S. government could do, Congress, the executive branch, and the Supreme Court. And remember, Paul Ryan was the only one who was allowed to read the bill, and he had to recommend voting up or down. Well, when Trump came into power, he killed that. He preserved American sovereignty right there in that one step. And he never got the credit for it. I fully recognize what he was doing because I was writing about the TPP. So he came in and look at what he did in his campaign. He's going with Tucker and RFK Jr. and saying, I'm going to do this, this, and that. And for about the first 4 or 5 months of his administration, he did exactly all that. He did Doge. He was exposing misuse of tax money. It looked like, and he was going after criminal illegal aliens that had murdered our citizens or raped our women, and he's deporting them. He was doing everything right. And then it's like it's Dr. Jekyll, Mr. What the heck happened to him? What happened, Stephen? This isn't Donald Trump.
He, yes. The thing is those that control, it's like Steve O'Neill will say. He says, and I've heard this from people that I knew as well, the president doesn't run the country. It's very wealthy people above him. They're the real runners of the country and the global system to begin with. And right now, they're in a power struggle over who's going to control this world for the next 100 years. And that's
Yeah, and I'm going to hold that right there. We're going to have more on this interview, but it's so timely because of what it fits into. Let me just say this. If we go from old money system, okay, so we go from the old money system to the digital, and you got massive money laundering from illicit activities going on, which has been well documented. This is nothing secret. Would you not need a mechanism to transfer that illicit money laundering and be able to bypass the present security checks that are in place? Because when you transfer money overseas, from one bank to another, you've got to go through sanctions inspection, money laundering inspection, validity of the currency exchange. So if you knew that your pipeline of illegitimate profits was going to be interfered with, you would need a way to go from the old Babylonian money system, debt-ridden, Rothschild, so forth, into the cryptocurrency headed by Sam Altman and Peter Thiel. And we see stablecoin coming out of the Genius Act. I've just set the stage for the next revelation. And I think you're going to sit back and say, holy crap, Batman, this is unbelievable in its revelation. And I am so distressed by this. But remember what this ex-CIA high-ranking operative, Stephen Bannon, who also did work alongside the Mossad and so forth. This guy is not a lightweight. He's a heavyweight. And what he just said, the president does not run the country. Well, I can tell you what my father said from what he learned. He said the president on a security clearance level, levels 1 through infinity, is at about level 18 on most topics. And it varies according to the topic. So Stephen's right on the money. I've heard this before. I heard it over 40 years ago. And I didn't really have the experience in life or the context to understand it, but I certainly do now. This is earth-shattering revelation. And I got to tell you, I got to have Stephen on more. He's such an in-demand guest now because people are realizing just how in the know he is. But I don't think he knows what I'm going to present to you next because I just stumbled upon it. And then I'm doing research to try to find collaborating evidence. And bingo, a group called A More Perfect Union reported on about 75% of what I'm about ready to tell you in the next segment. This is not Dave Hodges going out on a limb. And I believe we're going to see a lot more people connect these dots. Well, all I got to say is this, is that you better be somewhat outside the system because I can't predict how this system's going to go. Maybe nothing, but I think gold and silver, crypto investment, I think this is all in order right now because I can't guarantee how long the banks are going to survive given the faltering shape of the dollar. And it's about getting to get a lot worse. I'm Dave Hodges. If you've not checked us out on our TV show, thecommonsenseshow.tv, you should. You should. And it pains me to have to report this. It does. But I feel an obligation. If I come across this information, and yes, I do have unique contacts. Okay. And because I have unique contacts, I hear things. And remember, I look at this from a Christian world perspective. I think these people should be allowed to repent, change direction, all's forgiven, because that's the grace that the Lord gives us. And we need to emulate the example. But I'm not seeing any retraction here. What I'm seeing is your tax dollars are being victimized, your standard of living is being victimized, and now your very savings are being victimized. You're in jeopardy with this. And if you don't recognize this, I'll just leave you with some numbers on the way out. 39 trillion in debt, 1.2 trillion dollar in interest payments, downgrade of our credit worthiness by all three credit agencies for the US Treasury, solvency, banking laws that allow them to steal your money, literally steal. It's called Dodd-Frank 2010 and UCC Section 8. The laws don't favor you. And you're going to be the first line of cushioning the fall for the banking industry when they crash and we come out with digital. Because these people on the money side of things, the banking side, they wouldn't agree to this transfer to digital that's clearly underway if they weren't going to be protected and somehow get something out of it. And the people who are going to pay the price, well, you know the answer to that. It's true in every demise of every republic. There's been five major civilizations that have gone down the tubes, and we're following the predictable pattern. Sometimes having taught history like I did comes with an overshadowing foreboding because you can see the pattern, and I see the pattern quite clearly, and I'm going to elucidate it for you. But at the insiders, remember, they loot, and they loot on the way out of a business. It's a fire sale. I once watched a gym, and I think this is a good example. Used to go to this gym before I would go to work, and I get there about 6 a.m. and work out. And I can't remember what I was paying, maybe $10, $12 a month. And this is back in the 80s. And I kept hearing these, we got a special. It's only good for 3 hours. Extend your membership for free for 6 months with $100 deposit. And I'm thinking, okay, let me do the math here. Yeah, because then they extended it to a year and then the 2 years. You were getting something for nothing. The problem is 3 days later, they closed their business. The reason I found out is I showed up to work out and someone had smashed something big through the window and the police were already there. They were ripping people off because they knew they were going out of business. So they offered these fake deals, collected money that they never paid on, and people were out the money. That's what's happening right now inside our financial institutions. I see evidence of it every day. And this next report I'm going to give to you really pains me to talk about this.